Hello. Today we will be learning how to simplify exponents raised to powers. Go ahead and fill in your table of contents. We're still working on exponents raising powers. I'm on page 4950. Make sure you have your date. Our objective for today is to raise power, simplify expressions by raising powers. And then our essential question is, what is the power rule when raising a power to a power? Feel free to pause the video and get all of that written down. This should say Unit 3. Okay. Power to a power. When we have a power to a power, you need to keep the base and multiply the exponents. Okay, so if I'm looking at this through algebra, I'm essentially distributing the outside power to the inside exponent, and I'm multiplying that. So I'm keeping my base of A, and I multiply those exponents. So I'd multiply m times n. Okay, so for an actual example, I keep the base, which would be A, and I multiply 2 times 3. So this would simplify A to the 6. Okay, well, why does it work like that? Well, what this is saying, so it's saying we have A squared times 3. Well, that really means we have 3 A squareds. And then if I were to break all of those apart, we have A times A, and then another A times A, and then another A times A. Okay, so you can see there's the 2. Well, if we count them all up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this would simplify A raised to the 6th power. So instead of writing all of that out, the quick way to do that is just to multiply those exponents. Let's look at some examples. So these first 4 examples should be fairly easy. We are going to leave them all as exponents. Again, make sure you pay close attention because numbers can translate to an actual number. So my base is 3. My exponent is 2 times 4 because I'm multiplying that 4 times 2. So I get 3 to the 8. And we can actually calculate that when it's a number. So 3 raised to the 8 means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So we would get 6,561, and you can do that in your calculator. Okay, the next one, my base is m, my exponents are 5 and 7, so I'm going to get m 5 times 7. So 5 times 7 is 35. So this would simplify to m to the 35. Go ahead and pause the video and do the last 2. Hopefully at this time you've paused the video and you worked this out. So I have a base of k. My exponent is 6 times 8. So this would be k to the 48. And then the last one, we're going to multiply 9 times 3. So I get A 9 times 3. So this would simplify to A raised to the 27. Okay, so hopefully those weren't too bad and you could understand those. So let's look at what happens when we have a product raised to a power. Product means I'm multiplying something inside the parentheses. So a product raised to a power means we need to raise all the bases to that power by multiplying the exponents. So essentially distributing that exponent to all the bases on the inside. So algebra here, this would be a to the n times b to the n. Okay, because our exponent there is 1. So our example, this would simplify to a squared and b squared. So why does it work that way? Well, ab squared really just means I have ab times ab twice. Well, how many a's do I have? 2. And how many b's do I have? That's also 2. Okay, feel free to pause the video to write all of that down. And let's take a look at some examples like this. Okay, so you can see here we have 4 times 3 times 5, so there's a product inside here, and it's being raised to an exponent of 2. When they don't have an exponent, that's a 1. So we end up with 3 squared. I'm going to change the color of the exponent. Times 4 squared times 5 squared. Okay, we can simplify this further. So this would be 9 times 16 times 25. And then we can multiply all of that. So 9 times 16 times 25, and you can type that in your calculator. So you would get 3,600. If the directions say to leave it as exponents, that would be this answer up here. Okay, let's look at number 2 here. So now I'm going to distribute 7. So I have bases of 5 and g, and I need to distribute this 7 to the exponents inside. So I'm going to end up with f 3 times 7 and g 5 times 7. 3 times 7 is 21. 5 times 7 is 35. So this problem, number 2, simplifies to f to the 21, g to the 35. Okay, notice in problem 3, I have 3 bases. 4 is a base. Okay, and I'm going to distribute that 3 times now for how many bases are in there. So we end up with 4 to the 3rd, r 2 times 3, and s 9 times 3. Okay, well, I can simplify that. So 4 raised to the 3rd power means 4 times 4 times 4. So that's going to simplify to 64. 2 times 3 is 6. And then s 9 times 3 is 27. So this problem simplified to 64r to the 6, s to the 27. Let's just look at a couple more. So you can see each time we're just getting a little bit more complicated. So it's always a good idea to recognize how many bases you have. So I have 3. I've got 2, E, and F. So that means I'm going to get 2 raised to the 5th. E 4 times 5. And then F 3 times 5. Okay, 2 to the 5th means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. If we calculate that out, we should get 32. E 4 times 5 is 20, so we get e raised to the 20. And then f 3 times 5 is 15. So this simplifies to 32e20, f15. Okay, so again, I want to pick out my basis, or my basis here. So I've got 5, x, y, and z. So that means this 2 needs to be distributed 4 times. So it's going to the 5, it's going to the x, to the y, and to the z. So I'm going to get negative 5 squared x 6 times 2 y, this is a 1 times 2, or just y squared, and then z 8 times 2. Okay, I put that negative 5 in parentheses so you remember to square the negative, because this is going to turn the answer positive. So this is a 25 x to the 12 y squared z to the 16. It's a good idea to color code those bases to help you see that. Okay, now we're going to look at what happens when we raise a quotient to a power. So quotient means there's a division inside the parentheses. So we want to make sure we raise the numerator and the denominator to the power and multiply the exponents. Okay, so if I'm looking at algebra here, this is going to go a to the n, b to the n. We take that and we distribute it to both the numerator and the denominator. Okay, so our example here, this is going to go to a squared over b squared. And why does it work? Because a over b squared means we have 2 of those. So a over b times a over b. And now if we calculate that, that's 2a 2b. Okay, so let's look at some examples that are quotients raised to a power. So again, we need to pick out our bases. So we have 2 bases. So I have x and y. So 6 needs to be distributed to both of these. So I'm going to get x to the 6 over y to the 6. Because both of these have an exponent of 1. So 1 times 6 is just 6. Okay, so number 2, you should notice in here, I have 3 bases. I've got 7, B, and C. So this 2 needs to go to the 7, to the B, and to the C. So this is going to give me 7 squared, B squared, over C squared. Then you got to ask yourself, can I reduce anything else? Well, you can change that 7 squared to 49, because 7 times 7 is 49. So 49 B squared over C squared. Okay, if I'm looking at number 3 here, I've got 5, J, and K. So I've got 3 bases, so the 3 needs to go to all 3 of those. So I'm going to end up with 5 to the 3rd. J, 4 times 3. over k 7 times 3. Okay, well, 5 raised to the third means 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. So we're going to simplify that to 125. 4 times 3 is 12. And then 7 times 3 is 21. So number 3 would simplify to 125, j to the 12th, k to the 21. Go ahead and pause the video and give number 4 a try. Hopefully at this time you've paused the video and you've tried number 4. You should have recognized that there are 3 bases, so this 4 needs to go to the 3, the 5, and the 2. So we're going to get 3 to the 4, m5 times 4, and then n2 times 4. So 3 raised to the 4 is 3 times 3 times 3, which should give you 81. 5 times 4 is 20. And then 2 times 4 is 8. So this would simplify to 81, m to the 20, n to the 8. Okay, if anything was confusing, please make sure you get your questions answered. At this time, you are ready to move on to your assignment for today.